Here we are, the real deal, the full plunge into bad SpongeBob. Prepare for these worst lists to get more generic, but also prepare for some reminders that these seasons weren't all terrible. Yeah, I don't hate Season 6 as much as others, I think it has its fair share of gems. I totally understand that the gross out and cringe comedy were overtaking any sort of charm the series used to have, but this is just the flavour the season has. You might not like it, but you know a Season 6 episode when you watch one, and that to me gives the episodes some benefit. Not gonna lie, however, it's hard to watch 47 episodes of this shoddy excuse for SpongeBob, much less talk about 10 in detail, so I'm Employee a Million, and here are my top 5 best and worst SpongeBob Season 6 episodes. Number 5, The Card. We start off the worst list with what many consider the episode that ruined Patrick. SpongeBob really loves trading cards here for whatever reason, but Patrick buys the one he wants and does whatever he feels like it. In a way, SpongeBob's in the wrong for blowing all his money on cards and getting so worked up about it, but Patrick's so antagonistic here. He blocks out SpongeBob's rant about why they're so important and even says his stupidity varies from day to day. It's the best joke in the episode, but it's Skelly Simpson's levels of saying, yeah, we're not good anymore, but just let us be bad. It's a miserable episode that plays up the cringe comedy too far, even if it has its sweet moments. It's one of Tom Kenny's favourites for a very vague reason. Number 4, The Splinter. The most common complaint you'll hear about this episode is that it's gross. Yeah, because grossness has never had a place in SpongeBob. I'll admit it's over-exaggerated here, but my biggest problem with The Splinter is that it loves wasting your time. It thinks of many different subplots in order to distract from the main story, which honestly had a better setup than it had any right to. The most infamous is when Patrick plays Doctor and just makes SpongeBob Splinter worse. Yet Squidward teasing SpongeBob about having to be sent home is also pretty annoying. In the end, the moral of the story is never trust a doctor if he lives in a dumpster. Number 3, Choirboys. They made an entire episode out of Tom Kenny and Roger Bumpus' vocal warm-ups. That's the only way to explain its existence. This may be shocking, but coughing and screaming, competitively mind you, doesn't make for an entertaining episode. Even worse, SpongeBob is antagonizing Squidward throughout most of it. It feels like they forgot the key elements of his appeal as a character and were only interested in making him as strange and awkward as they could. There's something inherently creepy with how he's just lying on the sand when Squidward first meets him and the perfect note he plays that saves him and Squidward at the audition. In short, a terrible example of what makes SpongeBob SpongeBob, both the character and the series. Number 2, Pet or Pests. My one-word review of this episode is ugly. But here's another 100 so as not to waste your time. The character animation here is full-on Springer style in a bad way. Everyone has these out-of-place baby cheeks and SpongeBob moves like an old lady. Additionally, I really hate the worms here. Why can't they look more like the show's typical worms? They're slightly modified to resemble a dog breed. That's what worms are in Bikini Bottom, a stand-in for dogs, and seeing them this dirty and slimy, having painful pregnancies with offspring that vomit makes this episode feel like an insult to dog lovers like myself. There's little value in this episode, and the rarity of the worms doesn't count because that ending's shoehorned in without any thought. Number 1, say it with me, boating buddies. It's hard to describe just how horrible SpongeBob is to Squidward here. He's so dumb that it comes off as patronizing to the viewer. This is a character you've grown to love for 9 years. Now he's breathing down his neighbor's neck and hardly treating him seriously as an individual. The actual story is among the worst of the series. Squidward's thrown into boating school, hardly has much chemistry with Mrs. Puff despite their similar attitudes, and gets bullied for being himself. If you stay for the boat ride into the science lab and find that interesting, it's where you should turn the episode off. The ending is the worst of the whole series. It's uncanny, creepy, nonsensical, and the worst episode of Season 6. If there's one thing I can say about the 6th season, positively, it's that it was always pushing the boundaries of what was good about the show, and there were some good episodes that came from that push. They're certainly not classics, but they've got entertainment value that'll keep many fans happy. And Crabby Road is an example of this. They've still got good ideas and know how to use them, and this episode's a fun little time if you're into rock music. If not, the audio's going to be a pain. Plankton's latest formula-snatching scheme involves putting together a band with SpongeBob and co. I like just how desperate Plankton is to get him to write a song about the Krabby Patty's secret formula, and how SpongeBob never picks up on it. It's also funny seeing Squidward get super buff when he wants to become a rock star, and interesting seeing Plankton's first time in jail. I can't believe they'd never shown him in the Slammer before this. At least not on the show, but still. Number 4, Sandcastles in the Sand. A pretty overrated episode if you ask me, but still rather fun to watch. The first few minutes are pretty weak and haven't got much to do with the story, but when they start fighting over each other's sandcastles, that's when it truly inclines. The escalation of warfare isn't quite as funny here as, say, the Krusty Plate. What holds it together is the rivalry between SpongeBob and Patrick. Honestly, their rivalry episodes have never really wowed me, and this doesn't do much to change that, but the circumstances here become so out there that you forget they're both being jerks and just want to see one outcharm the other. It's got a decent story and ambitious animation, but I just don't think it's best of the series material. Number 3, The Slumber Party. What I'm most impressed with here is how well this one understands teenagers. Adults have this image in their mind that they're rude and destructive, but they just want to have carefree fun while they still can. Carefree fun like dousing SpongeBob in boiling oil. For the most part, everyone's in character here. Pearl and her friends aren't massive jerks, Mr. Krabs is a bit ignorant but otherwise a typical dad, and SpongeBob's always making the best out of situations. Don't ask me why he turns into a root beer zombie monster at the end though, they just needed to tie in more with the Slumber Party gone wrong motif. Anyway, pretty funny episode with a relatable story. Number 2, No Hug For Pact. This is one of the best ways to portray Patrick, taking away his greed and maliciousness and making him more innocent. It's a story about him wanting to get a job, which has been done before to varying degrees of success, but this time it's about the hat. Seeing him view it as a sign of superiority is really darn cute, but that's just the start of this episode's feel-good vibes. He eventually becomes a hit by falling down repeatedly, and he isn't in the wrong as the situation worsens. It's Mr. Krabs milking his comic potential for all it's worth. It's a clever, emotional story that says something about SpongeBob and Patrick's dynamic on the show, and that's why it's pretty high up for me. Number 1, Not Normal. It's what I believe to be the final SpongeBob classic before the series completely left its roots behind. It's got one of the best messages in the show's history by taking the one thing people admire about SpongeBob, his abnormality, and getting rid of it. He suffers the consequences of losing his friends and needing help to get back to normal or not normal. It's got some of the funniest jokes of season 6 by being tame and low-key most of the time, so that's saying something. And I'm not kidding when I say I love this message that being yourself is great. Make your own path in life. Don't get yourself down because you're annoying to a few people. You are you, and no matter what, that's special. Then again, there was a reason SpongeBob needed to cool the heck down, because season 6 at large is rather subpar. The world of Bikini Bottom isn't about shock humor and realistic slapstick violence, nor is it a world where idiots and jerks hate each other all the time. It's something with its own magic and set of rules, though they had been largely abandoned. Again, I think that a lot of these episodes have artistic merit, and the season at large has a collective identity, which is more than what I can say for season 7, my least favourite of the whole show. Goodbye for now.